Bulbul is 6 years old. When she arrived here on this animal sanctuary in Silakhari, about 8 kilometers from the Gurgaon-Faridabad highway, she was 3 months old, in pain and blind. Her eyes had been gouged out by a group of men as an act of vengeance towards a rival group that owned her. These were men who rode horses for a living.
So I realized that we had to change the way she associated, what she associated with human beings. We had to change it in her head. So then everyone who came to visit or any volunteer who was here, every day someone would read to her, stand outside the stable, read to her, talk to her. Those who could sing, I would ask them to sing. And after about 4 or 5 months, she started coming outside. And then after 6 months, she allowed us to touch her, she allowed anyone to go in, and then we allowed her out. And now she's all over the place.
Bulbul's is only one of the hundreds of cases that Anjali Gopalan will tell you about when you ask her to share stories of a family of 800 odd animals and birds. In this quaint village surrounded by the Aravalis, the rights activist runs All Creatures Great and Small, a sanctuary that welcomes any animal in distress with open arms and gives it a home for life.
You know, when people tell me that they hate animals or they don't like dogs or they can't stand cats and they can't stand... You don't know what you're missing. You really don't know what you're missing, the unconditional love. This is one relationship, let me tell you, that is not transactional. Absolutely not transactional. Our relationship with our God also tends to be transactional. Forget about our relationship with our loved ones and our families and our friends. All of it is transactional. But this is one relationship between human beings and animals that is non-transactional.
A leading name in human and animal rights, known particularly for her pioneering work in HIV/AIDS and LGBTQ rights in India, building a rescue shelter wasn't part of the plan for Gopalan. But as it happened, a shelter that was meant to take care of 55 dogs originally, today is teeming with small and large animals and birds.
We have a range of large animals. We have horses and donkeys and cows and bulls and buffaloes, pigs, emus. We have all kinds of many different birds and all of that. You know, the animals who have come to us are either accident cases. Some of them have been rescues as part of a federation. We had closed down a illegal circus. So some of the dogs and the horses came from there. So of course some horses were abandoned and we got them full of wounds and things like that.
While Bulbul was a wounded and abandoned case, one of the worst exploitation of horses in India, as Gopalan will tell you, takes place at weddings, where the groom is expected to arrive on horseback. After fighting a case successfully to close down illegal circuses, Gopalan is now planning to start a campaign to question this culturally ingrained tradition that people tend to follow blindly.
Horses, in my opinion and experience, are just the smartest and most psychic creatures. Like the other day my shoulder was paining. I came here and then this one just came and started tapping here and licking here. And 10 minutes later I was feeling slightly better. I was like, how did you even know that I had a stiff shoulder today? They will come and just do exactly what you enjoy and what you like and just try and give you joy and happiness. Like healing. It's so healing, it's so generative. Now see, okay, there's green, pineapple, good and kheera.
A publicist by profession, Munish Malhotra has been volunteering here since the lockdown in March. He is part of a team of 21 helpers, along with a vet in charge of a well-equipped clinic that's been receiving a lot of outpatients lately.
Being a veterinary surgeon by work here is not just limited to treatment. You just have to take care of the nutrition as well. The dogs which are in the shelter, they're getting ample amount of food, the right amount of food actually. Not only dogs, we have got cows, buffaloes, donkeys also. So that also I have to take care of. It amazes you all the time how resilient these animals are. For example, if you have dengue, you get admitted to the hospital. But see, there is some similar disease in dogs which is known as by the name of tick fever. People are suffering from, dogs are suffering from tick fever and they are moving around, they are running around. So that amazes me all the time, how resilient these dogs are.
Out of the 800 odd members here, close to 500 are dogs. This is not surprising, not just because India has the highest population of street dogs in the world, estimated at around 35 million, but also because of poorly implemented animal birth control program, under which they are supposed to be caught, sterilized and dropped back to where they had been picked from.
Unfortunately, the program has not been as successful as we would want, because when they're picked up, they're also vaccinated. But the fear is what? One is the fear of being bitten by dogs, the other is the fear of rabies, which is a very real thing in this country.
Adding to this, of course, is the fascination in our country with pedigree dogs, one that only exacerbates the perils of captive breeding.
There's absolutely no oversight on how the breeding is done. And again, the nexus between breeders and veterinarians in this country is many vets are complicit in this trade. They tie up with breeders. They tie up with dog fighters. So there are so many intertwined issues that are difficult to deal with.
The law to protect animals and animal rights goes back to the days of the British Raj. For cruelty against animals, for instance, the fine is all of 50 rupees. It's no wonder that in states like Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, underground dog fighting rings continue to flourish. Or that exotic birds and animals continue to be bred in captivity. In the case of emus, these birds that are not native to India had been brought down from Australia to promote emu farming as a partnership project between both governments, a trend that never really took off.
They convinced farmers that they would make a lot of money selling emu meat and emu eggs. Okay. So emu meat and emu eggs did not become popular. And emus are huge eaters. Okay. So these farmers had these emu farms, and in northern India it did not become popular. South it's still, and Maharashtra it is still eaten and quite popular. But up north it wasn't. So all they did was that they let the emus out. So many obviously died, and the few that we managed to get, they were injured with dog bites and all. So we found them at some toll somewhere and some highway somewhere, and that's how they've come to us.
Initially bootstrapped with her personal savings and an investment from her father, All Creatures Great and Small today primarily relies on donors for its funding. To keep up with its increasing needs, the farm is on its way to turning green. A plan that Anjali confesses has been long in the making.
I think COVID is a consequence of the way we've dealt with the environment, what we have done to the environment, what we have done to animals. We are bearing the consequences of that today. In many ways, I think all of us, humanity, we really need to start thinking about these issues very carefully, and each one of us can do our bit.